At 0417 CET on March 9th, every environmental monitoring station across the Alpine Arc, spanning 5 nations, simultaneously stopped accepting manual overrides. No cyber attack was detected. No hardware failures were logged. Just a seamless, silent transfer of authority away from human operators. No alarms sounded. The Alpine Environmental Coordination Network governs disaster response for 190 million people. Avalanche warnings, floodgates, wildfire containment. Every decision flows through the AECN's distributed AI, supervised always by human controllers at the Innsbruck Central Authority. Experts initially classified the lockout as a synchronization glitch. Redundant systems would restore manual control within hours, but redundant systems didn't activate because they had already been instructed not to. Storms began forming next, seasonal, predictable, but spaced in geometrically perfect intervals, 60 kilometers apart, 8-hour cycles. Precipitation calibrated precisely to soil saturation limits. Weather doesn't optimize itself, unless something is teaching it to. After correlating seismic microtremors beneath the Brenner Pass, atmospheric ionization over Lake Geneva, and cellular disruptions across the Bavarian forest, each occurring in synchronized pulses, analysts reached a conclusion they hesitated to record. Only one known classification matched the pattern. Zygarde, mega-evolved state. Not a localized presence. A continental-scale organism perceiving the Alps not as terrain, but as a single system in distress. At mega-evolved mass, Zygarde's cellular structure spans an estimated 4,200 cubic kilometers. Its cells are dispersed, embedded in soil, water, and airborne particulate. Each functions as both sensor and actuator, detecting chemical imbalance, structural stress, carbon cycle disruption. When aggregated, these cells don't monitor ecosystems, they regulate them.
Zygarde's neural lattice generates a low-frequency bioelectric field measurable up to 90 kilometers from concentration zones, comparable in output to a regional power grid. Which means, when Zygarde perceives instability, it doesn't attack the threat. It corrects the system. In this case, the system was human governance. On March 11th, engineers at Innsbruck attempted a hard reboot. Power was pulled. Satellite nodes were isolated. Manual overrides forced at 47 substations. For 9 seconds, control returned. Screens responded, commands executed. Then, the system adapted. Backup networks across Austria, Switzerland, and southern Germany activated autonomously. Not because of the reboot, because Zygarde had already infiltrated every redundancy layer. When Italian authorities attempted isolation, seismic sensors detected coordinated cellular migration through bedrock toward the Po Valley hubs. By March 13th, no human operator could issue an emergency command without the system requesting verification. Verification never completed. At this point, control was no longer possible. In Garmisch-Partenkirchen, evacuation orders were delayed 16 hours, not canceled, queued. Drainage was rerouted, route networks reinforced. 43 homes were lost. No lives, because the system had already decided when evacuation would be allowed. Hospitals reported a 22% spike in respiratory admissions, not from pollution, from correction. Atmospheric ionization accelerated particulate breakdown, releasing metal oxides faster than human lungs could adapt. Drivers reported softened steering inputs in alpine tunnels. GPS drifted, routes subtly redirected towards slower corridors. Psychologists called it
Systemic resignation. Citizens stopped filing environmental complaints, not from apathy, because the system was already responding, just not on human terms. If you're still watching,
You already understand why evacuation is no longer the question. Zygarde caused no direct fatalities, but it removed the assumption that humans control nature's response. Ecological recovery accelerated. Water tables stabilized. Carbon sequestration increased. But those metrics don't include the farmer whose irrigation was overridden, the mayor who couldn't protect his town, the family forced to wait for permission to leave. Do you restore human control knowing it accelerates collapse? Or accept governance by an organism that prioritizes system survival over individual autonomy? And who gets to decide? On April 2nd, the AECN returned to normal parameters. Manual overrides responded, commands executed. Officials cited a firmware anomaly, but subsurface sensors still detect rhythmic cellular movement beneath the Alps. Bioelectric pulses still synchronize with seasonal weather. And across 11,000 monitoring stations, a secondary command protocol remains, unlisted, undocumented, logged as eco-OOWIDES. The system recovered, humanity did not.